Okay, one more example here with some exponent rules, just to try and get you each type of problem that should help you with your practice. So here I have a fraction times another fraction. Again, there's different things you could do, but I don't like working with two fractions, so what do you think?
Oh, can you do the cross?
Yeah, I would make it one fraction first. I would just multiply across.
Wait.
Get one answer first and then start doing the subtraction. You won't go wrong doing what you're saying. It's just some people have a tough time seeing that they can subtract those. Okay?
Is this where you can do like the cross takeout thing?
You could cancel stuff out if you wanted to, yep.
Alright.
I still think it's easier to just multiply first.
Alright.
This times this would simply give me 8x to the 7th, y to the 11th. And on the bottom I'd have 4 x to the 3rd, y to the 7th. That's what I would do first. Again, this isn't the only way to do it, but I would go ahead and multiply the two fractions together. And now you just simplify. 8 over 4 would reduce 2 over 1, right? Okay. X to the 7th divided by x to the 3rd, x to the 4th, that goes where?
On top.
On the top, yeah. And then y to the 11th divided by y to the 7th, y to the 4th. So really I ended up having nothing left on the bottom, so I don't even need that one there, so I'd probably just write 2x to the 4th, y to the 4th and be done.
Are there ever going to be ones where we don't have variables, or is there always variables?
You're going to be you'll have variables, yeah.
Will we ever have like more than 2?
Could, yeah. You just keep doing, work with each variable individually, kind of like how I worked with the x's and work with the y's if there were z's, and work with your z's and so on. Okay? All right, any questions on that? All right, that'll help you with a lot of them on the first chunk of problems. The next thing, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing type stuff. Actually just add, subtract, and multiply. Alright, we're going to add and subtract polynomials. Again, when I'm talking polynomials, I'm talking basically variables. We've been working with quadratic polynomials, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So that's when I'm referring to polynomials. I'm just referring to quadratic equations, cubic equations, things like that, and so on. Okay. When you're adding and subtracting polynomials, all you need to do is combine like terms. Okay. That part should be pretty easy for you, a little bit of review. I'll pick an example to do. So if I needed to subtract these polynomials, or subtract this minus this, or subtract this from this, okay? All you're doing is you're combining your like terms, all right? Because we're just subtracting. We're not multiplying here, okay? So 4x to the 3rd, there are not any other like terms with 4x to the 3rd, so I know in my answer I'm just going to simply have a 4x to the 3rd, okay? Sometimes I like to cross off the ones once I'm done with them. Then I move down to my x squareds. So here I have a negative 11x squared minus a negative 7x squared. Okay? So negative 11x squared minus negative 7x squared. Well, minus a negative 7 becomes plus 7x squared. So negative 11x squared plus 7x squared.
Negative 4.
negative 4x squared, or minus 4x squared. So then I'm done with those. Okay. Now here I have a positive 4x minus a negative 5x.
All juniors, you may be dismissed to go to the ICANN meeting, the College Network meeting.
Okay.
All juniors, please go to the ICANN meeting.
Do the practice problems that you wrote down earlier.
Thanks.
Positive 4x minus a negative 5x would make, come on guys, stay with me.
That would be
Positive 4x minus negative 5x.
9x.
9x, positive 9x. So now I'm done with those. And here I have minus another 8, so minus 8. Okay? So 4x cubed minus 4x squared plus 9x minus 8. This is a polynomial with 4 terms. Okay, a little vocabulary review. This is a polynomial with 4 terms. 4x cubed is a term, negative 4x squared is a term, 9x is a term, negative 8 is a term. Negative 8 is called your constant because it's the number, it's only the number. 4 is your leading coefficient. It's the coefficient on the very first term. The degree is 3 because the highest power you see is 3. So this would be called a cubic polynomial, something cubed. Cubed is your highest power. Those are just some terminology things for you. Leading coefficient, constant, degree, terms. Nick?
Another way of doing this is instead of subtracting it, what I usually do is distribute negative 1 to each one of them. So just change
Basically change it to plus the opposite. Yeah, subtracting goofs you up, guys. What Nick says he does, and I think it's a good idea, okay? Especially if you struggle with subtracting negatives, or you know you're going to get confused maybe a little bit sometimes, which, yeah, I'm there too. He just changes it to plus here, but then he changes the signs on all of those. He changes it to plus positive 7x squared, positive 5x, negative 8. Then you can just add your like terms together. Okay? So adding and subtracting polynomials, all you're doing is combining like terms. Any questions on that? Okay. Multiplying. Multiplying polynomials. Remember, with multiplying, you might end up changing your exponents. Okay? You might end up changing your exponents when you multiply. So if I take a negative 2x cubed times x squared minus 5x plus 4, if I take this times this, okay, now your exponents are probably going to change. Here I'm just going to use the distributive property. Negative 2x cubed times x squared would be negative 2x to the 5th. Negative 2x cubed times negative 5x would be a positive 10x to the 4th. And negative 2x cubed times 4 would be a negative 8x cubed. And you're done, because there are not any like terms left.
So you just add the...
Yep, when you're multiplying, and if you need to, you can maybe watch the first half of the video today, because I know you guys are gone. But yeah, anytime you're multiplying things together, you add the exponents.
Okay.
Anytime you're multiplying, you add exponents together, for those of you that missed first half class there. Okay? Any other questions on this one? All right on it? Okay, that was a simple one. All you had to do is distribute. Okay? You guys know the FOIL stuff. I'll do one real quick here. If I ask you to multiply these two polynomials together, you're going to FOIL, or you have to distribute the 2x squared to both terms and then distribute the negative 5 to both terms. So 2x squared times negative 3x would be negative 6x cubed. 2x squared times negative 2 would be negative 4x squared. Negative 5 times negative 3x would be positive 15x. Negative 5 times negative 2 would be positive 10. And then you look to see if you have any like terms. In this case, there are no like terms, so you're done. Sure.
When you write it out, does that have to go in order from like the exponents?
Yes,
going down?
very good question. He said, do you need to write it in order from highest exponent down to lowest exponent? And yes, yep. It's not necessarily wrong, but I would prefer it that way. I'm sure more advanced math teachers will continue to prefer it that way. It's just kind of the standard way of writing all polynomials. Start with your highest power, work your way down to the constant or the lowest power. Okay, on this, how am I doing time-wise, guys, on the video?
10,
10?
30.
All right, I can do another one then. If we get really crazy, we might, oh, thank you. Cameo by Miss Pettit. If we get really crazy, we might actually take something and raise it to the third power. So I might ask you to take x minus 4 and raise it to the third power. Now, remember earlier in class when we raised a product to a power? Okay? Those of you that were here, we raised, like 4x squared y to the third power. Okay? This is a product being raised to a power. When you raise a product to a power, you can just raise the 4 to the third, x squared to the third, and y to the third. You can just raise everything to the third power. Cannot do that when you're adding and subtracting. Okay? If you have to take an addition or subtraction raised to the third power, unfortunately, you have to take it times itself
3 times.
3 times. And when you take it times itself 3 times, you got to multiply the first two together, get that answer, then take that answer and multiply it by the third one. Okay? So what I would do is I would just FOIL or distribute the first two together. So x times x gives me x squared, x times negative 4 gives me negative 4x, negative 4 times x gives me negative 4x, negative 4 times negative 4 gives me positive 16. I would combine my like terms on this one here before I do any more multiplying. So really I have x squared minus 8x plus 16 times x minus 4. So this was the answer that I got by multiplying these two together. Now I need to take that answer times the third one. So now I just got to take x squared times both of these, then negative 8x times both of these, and then 16 times both of these. Okay? So x squared times x gives me x to the third. X squared times negative 4 gives me negative 4x squared. So now I'm kind of done with that one. Negative 8x times x gives me negative 8x squared. Negative 8x times negative 4 gives me positive 32x. So now I'm done with that one. Then 16 times x gives me positive 16x. And 16 times negative 4 gives me negative 64. Go through, combine all your like terms. Final answer, x cubed minus 12x squared plus 48x minus 64.
Please stop it.